I came out to Norway. That's where I'm at right now, in a place called Senja. And I came out here because of a couple of things. One, I feel like I need time to disconnect. I feel like as a human and the way that we're conditioned and the way that we are in the United States and where I'm at in Utah is we're constantly connected through technology, through phones, and it's very crowded. It's very different. You're constantly interacting with other people and you don't have time to be alone. You don't have time to just be still. And I think that's really to our detriment as humans. I believe there are a lot of ways and times and reasons why we need to be present. We need to be still. We need to be at peace. And so really that's the whole reason why I came out here to Norway. I got to come with two of my best friends as well as my brother, who's one of my greatest friends in the world. And the whole goal of this was just to remove ourselves from the craziness and distraction of life. Particularly for me, I've got work. I'm trying to build a production company with an amazing team, an amazing partner who definitely take a load off, but there's still so much external pressure. There's so many things that I'm constantly juggling that sometimes I feel like I'm not really doing any of it right. I'm just constantly playing catch up. And that's okay, and that's a very normal feeling. But it's something that if you're feeling that year after year with very little breaks in between, can really wear you down. On top of that, I'm a family man. I've got an amazing wife. I've got two wonderful kids that are truly some of the greatest joys of my life, but it's also something that takes a lot of energy, a lot of time and attention for me, where I'm constantly giving out energy. And I do receive it back in many ways, but sometimes the only way I've found for me to really be able to truly disconnect, to truly let go of the anxiety and the pressures of being a provider, of being a husband and a father, of being a friend, of other responsibilities, routines, expectations that I have at home is sometimes I just need to leave. And I need to disconnect, not permanently, that would make me miserable, but even just for a week and a half, be able to just pull back and slow down. And that's kind of the whole point of this Norway trip for me, is to just take stock of who I am, of where I'm at, and focus on what's kind of going on inside of my head and my heart. One of the things that particularly I came out here to try to practice is creativity. And I wanted to figure out how can I better cultivate this within myself, because if I can get a little vulnerable here, I feel like the normal role I play on set is a director. And I feel like I'm somebody who has a decent vision. Like I understand where something begins, where I want it to end, but there's this kind of through line of the story that I feel like I'm struggling to develop. And that's an area I want to grow in, as is being a better storyteller and being more creative. How do I think more outside of the box? And sometimes when all I'm doing is I'm at home on Instagram comparing my work to other individuals, it's really hard to separate my ideas from everything else I've seen on the internet. And so being able to remove myself from all that craziness, all that hustle and bustle is really helpful to me. And I think is going to help me develop as a creative. And while I've been sitting here thinking about what can help me cultivate this creativity, I kind of had three things come to mind that have been working for me lately. Because over the past, I'd say 3 months, I've had some of the best ideas, some of the best production, some of the best execution I've ever had in my career. So I kind of want to share some of those thoughts with you guys, some of those tactics that I've been practicing, and hopefully it's beneficial for you as well. All right, so let's talk about tactic number 1, which is why I came out here. It's the practice of being still, finding peace, being present, practicing mindfulness, slowing down. Whatever you want to call it, that is the ultimate goal of why I'm out here. And I knew the only way for me as a person to be able to achieve this, to experience this, is by coming somewhere filled with nature. This is where I'm able to think, this is where I'm able to slow down, because historically, I'm the kind of person, the way I think, the way I am able to articulate my ideas is by speaking. It's in the act of doing. And I constantly have one idea come to me, then the next, then the next, then the next, which is sometimes great. And I'm an idea guy. And a lot of times I do have some great long-term vision for how to accomplish it and pull it off and the why behind it. But I struggle going deep. I struggle holding on to an idea and going down 15 levels to find the actual root of it. What's the ethos? What's the real purpose behind this idea? What is the emotion that I'm wanting to convey? What am I wanting to present to the audience to feel for themselves? And that's not something that historically I've been very good at. And so for me, I've been practicing being still. And the way that I do that is, one, by going outside, by taking time to just slow down, leaving my phone behind, and just being present, listening to the sounds of nature, and just trying to think of nothing. It's practicing mindfulness, it's meditation. I've also used the app Calm or Headspace as well to practice some guided meditations, and that really does help me as well. But probably the number one most important thing, and the thing that I've practiced that has worked for me, is journaling. I'm not very good at it. I'm not very consistent with it. But interestingly enough, every time I have a problem or a decision I'm trying to make or something I'm just wanting to go a little deeper on than I can just with my surface level thoughts, when I need to write it down, pen to paper, it forces me to slow down because my hand cannot write as fast as my mind can think. Therefore, the simple act of physically having to write something down forces me to slow down and be present. And for that, I'm grateful. I am able to really think through what I'm trying to say. I'm really able to identify what is the point that I'm trying to get across. How do I go 15 levels deeper? Well, it's by just slowing down. And so when I'm writing out these ideas or these thoughts that I'm having on a physical piece of paper, I'm not only like reinforcing it in my mind because I'm physically doing it there, but I'm able to just dwell on the one thought, the one sentence longer. And as I write down that sentence, I start thinking about what ties to it and the deeper questions that have to do with that. And I'm able to kind of move deeper and deeper and deeper. And it takes patience. It's a pain. And if you don't write often, your hand will start cramping up, which is what happens to me every time I do it. But as I force myself to slow down and write these things, I'm able to have insights that not only impact me creatively, but also impact me and help me develop to be a better person, which really is my ultimate goal. Speaking of ultimate goals, let's talk about why is creativity important. This is just a little sidetrack because that was tactic number one that I used to try to be more creative, which is being still, practicing mindfulness. But why, like if we go further back, why do we want to be creative? Why is that important? Well, I'm a man of faith. I'm a Christian. I'm somebody who believes in God, who has a very strong faith. I mean, I go to church every Sunday with my family, and it has been something that I found has brought a lot of strength and a lot of purpose into my life. And I know there's people who don't agree with it and haven't had the same experience, and that's okay. But for me, it has been massively influential and brought about so much good in my life. Now, I believe that we are made by a God who is a creator, and that is what he does. And so therefore, being made by him, it is in our actual DNA. It is by design that we ourselves practice creativity. And if we want to become the ultimate expression of being a human, if we want to develop in the ways that we're supposed to, then practicing the art of building, of creating, is part of what we were designed to do and become, whether that's through architecture and the things that we build, whether that's the way that we creatively shape ourselves and our personality through our life and our experiences and our choices. You know, creativity is all part of why we're here. And practicing that and developing that, I think, is just something that ultimately does bring us closer to God. When I'm out here with a camera, it forces me to slow down, forces me to appreciate nature, to force me to appreciate God's work in my life, on this planet, and that's a beautiful thing. So why do I think creativity is important? One, I think it's good for us as individuals to practice for a myriad of reasons, but number two, I believe it's something that we are designed to do, and it helps bring us closer to God. Tactic number two that I would want to talk about for helping cultivate creativity in your life is actually moving your body. I think as modern day creatives, we get very sedentary. We get very comfortable with just sitting at a desk. And I believe that brilliant thoughts and genius can be found in movement. And there's science behind this that I cannot quote back because it will be inaccurate and sloppy, but I know as we move our bodies and our muscles contract and things happen, there are endorphins or hormones that are released that actually help us think clearer, that help us be more creative. As simple as it sounds, I've started going on walks, and I go on walks just about every day, whether it's for during a phone call at work, or me just needing to take time to go walk around the block while I concept something, or just a way for me to wind down at the end of the night, just letting thoughts come to me as I go on these little walks has been something that has really changed the game for me. Again, it's forced me to slow down and be present. I'm not on my phone scrolling while I'm walking around. It's down, it's in my pocket, or it's at home, and it's just a moment for me to be present, to enjoy nature, to slow down while still moving my body and activating my mind. And especially if I go on a walk with a purpose, like, hey, I'm feeling frustrated. I don't exactly know why. I'm just feeling anxious, feeling frustrated about something in particular. Maybe I will kind of hold that thought in my mind and say, I'm going to go on this walk to be able to better discover why I'm feeling this way, to be able to answer this question or resolve this problem. And as I've done that, and I go on this walk with that intention behind it, it's kind of crazy how either one, I come up with a solution that makes it better, or two, I just feel better about it. And I just accept the fact that maybe it's not something I can control right now, but I can live with it. And that's okay. Slowing down my mind by moving my body has been huge for me. And so whatever it is you're into, for me, it's going on a walk. I do go to the gym. I do go on runs and things like that, go on hikes. But for me, just the simple act of walking, where I'm not too focused on physically exerting myself, helps me be very present, and it's beautiful. But whatever it is for you, go get off your desk, stop just sitting around, and go move your body. And you're going to be amazed at the ideas that come to you. The exposure to different environments is going to help shift your paradigm and help you think more creatively. Tactic number 3 to becoming better as a creative is just practicing creativity. If you never execute and you're somebody who just likes to sit around and ideate around how to build a business, or oh, look at this cool business idea I have, or it'd be really cool to do a photo shoot like that, or I'd love to get into art or music because of X, Y, and Z, then you're never really going to have practiced creativity, and you're never going to develop in that way. So really the only way for you to truly develop is by doing the thing. If you're not doing the thing, you're just never going to get better. That's just the truth. And that's something that I've had to realize too multiple times in my career. And so, for example, like I said, I want to become a better storyteller. I want to become a better writer. Well, the only way I'm going to become better at it is writing. The only way I'm going to become a better storyteller is taking time to craft my stories. And I recently did that with a story about my daughter, Olive. If you guys watched my last video on YouTube, I share that story that I wrote down, and I think it was pretty impactful. And that's something that I want to continue to develop, but I wasn't able to do that without actually practicing. Don't be the person who just sits around talking about what they're going to do, who just wishes they could be more creative. Be the person who actually does the thing. And if you want to get better at it, just like in the gym, if you want to strengthen a muscle, you've got to use it. If you want to build your biceps, you've got to do the curls. And it's the same way creatively. If you're not actually putting the reps in, then you're really never going to develop in the way that you want to. Again, the whole point of this trip for me was coming out here to develop myself creatively, and also to kind of practice finding peace in my own life. And so I hope some of the things that I was able to share was beneficial to you guys. And if it wasn't, that's okay. The point of this was honestly for me, but I do hope this was beneficial for you guys, and I hope you're able to take some of these things into practice. 1, practice being still. 2, practice moving your body. And then 3, actually practice the art of creating something. And the last thing I'll say, this actually comes from Rick Rubin, the book that he wrote, which was called The Creative Act. And I can't remember exactly how he put it, but he basically said something like, the act of creating isn't finished until you actually share what you created. It is for the benefit and the edification of everyone else around you. Obviously the act of making it is something that edifies and benefits you and helps develop you. But the act of sharing it is really what creating art is for. It's meant to be shared. It's meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to help stimulate thoughts, ideas, help somebody feel validated in their feelings about something, help them see a place that they've never seen before, or expand their mind to new ideas and thoughts. That is the whole purpose of creating art. So if we're not only if we're not creating it, then we're missing out on developing the ways that we're meant to be as a human. But number two, if we're not sharing it, then really it's just a waste. The whole point is to share.